You are now listening to the Friends of Rugby podcast. Relax your anus. Balls. Thick thighs. Camille Shat. Where's his neck? Eddie Jones. You're fucked, mate. We're nice now.
3, 2, 1, and we are recording.
I'm alive.
And we're live.
I'm alive.
Hello,
Sunday morning.
friends. You're listening to the Friends of Rugby, and we're here.
We're not actually live. I just realized that's wrong.
Well, we're live.
People say it and
We're
it sounds
live
fun.
We're live in this room.
It's a recording. Yeah, technically we are live,
Yeah, we're live.
but we're not live, you know. Anyway, whatever. How you
Just
doing?
pretend.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Like outside your windows here, this is a
But it's factually incorrect.
Thousands of fans watching us. I have a little pretend AI chat room going here that's just randomly saying shit.
Do you worry that this is quite egotistical and narcissistic doing this?
What my opinion is important
Yeah. To me.
in the world.
To me.
No, for everyone.
And to Levi 69 Blaze it.
The people need to hear our voices.
I think you think
The
that.
people that tune in every week, they
Yeah.
need to hear this.
Okay.
This is the most important part of
Yeah.
their lives
Okay.
for a lot of them.
I needed to hear that today.
Yeah, just go with that. Just believe everything I'm
Okay,
saying.
it's hard. I need reminding.
100% of what I said is not bullshit.
Well, we know that's not true. Yeah.
How you doing, Frank? Frankie Frank?
I'm doing good. I think this has been a lull.
Canadian Frank?
Yeah, Canadian citizen Frank. I'm doing good. What was I going to say? No real games of significance because little truth bomb. I fucking hate sevens. Don't like watching it. Don't like playing it. I really don't like playing it. So all the talk is about what's going on in the sevens, and we just watched some. We watched the women's game, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Big win for Canada. Spoiler alert over Fiji. But even that was just like, it just feels random. It feels like who's going to win this game is decided by the bounce of the ball, you know. Anyway, how are you?
I'm totally disagreeing with you. I love sevens.
No, you fucking don't. Don't
I
lie.
fucking hate sevens too.
I thought you were serious then. I was like, fuck off, Steve. Gaslighting me.
Just throwing you under the bus.
Yeah.
Right before we're recording, like, yeah, fucking seven sucks.
Everything I told you
And then
off
right
mic
on the
is not
recording, like,
true.
no, man, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Just brings people together.
It does, actually. It does, yeah.
Sevens has its place.
It does have its place.
It's got its place. I think it's good for the Olympics, like a type structure. It's quick, it's fast, you can get it over and done with.
It's the tailgate party of rugby, isn't it?
It is.
It brings all the rugby people together so they can drink and kind of half watch a game,
Yeah.
right? Because I went to one in Japan. I went to a sevens tournament. And obviously when you're a white person living in Japan, you tend to hang around with a whole bunch of other white people initially while you're learning the language. So I went to a sevens tournament and I met all these people who were living in Japan, you know, Australians and Kiwis and South Africans and stuff. And we just had a good time drinking all day.
Was it for watching or were you playing?
We went to the stadium, right? And it was like about half full.
Oh, was it one of the tours?
Yeah, it was one of the sevens tours.
Yeah, see, the sevens tours, like, it's a party.
It is exactly.
People are
That's what I'm
dressed
saying.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
everyone's
just
drinking.
Yeah, it's a rugby festival.
It goes on all day. It's very similar to when I went to a cricket match.
Yeah.
It goes
yeah.
on all day, and
Yeah.
everyone's it's just a
Just
piss
a
up.
piss up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And no one's even watching the game.
yeah, no, I don't remember who played that day or who won, and there was an entire men and women's tournament.
Yeah,
I don't
So
even remember if Wales played.
You're just kind of in the rugby culture.
Yeah, exactly. You're just around rugby people, aren't
Yeah.
you? That's what, and you're right. It has a place. I don't think its place is in the Olympics, though. To be honest,
No,
because that's
I think the short, how
it's like having beer pong in the Olympics. It's like what the fuck? This is a drinking thing, you know? Why are you bringing it into this prestigious event? You know?
The athleticism of sevens is hardcore.
They
have to be top.
as much. You're right.
Cardio,
Yeah.
the strength.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot going on.
I have a lot of respect for sevens players. Absolutely, they're in
Yeah.
supreme shape. That game is miserable to play, and those every tackle is a massive open field tackle, right? And they are hard to do.
Yeah, and it's an open field. The tackles are hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cardio.
Yeah.
I have some respect for it.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea.
It's a young person's game as well, isn't it?
We're not young
anymore.
It's only for a certain body type person.
That's
right.
It's rugby league-ish in that way, isn't it?
It's rugby league-ish.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not going to have it's not a game for everyone.
No.
Not like rugby 15s union.
Yeah. Shapes of all sizes. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine sevens was the only rugby.
I just wouldn't care.
Or if if league was the only rugby.
I'd have to be a rugby.
You would never have Eben Etzebeth.
Faf de Klerk.
You would never have Joe Marler.
No.
You would never have fucking old Dan Coles.
No.
You'd never see him.
Cheslin Colby, I don't even think he'd cut it in rugby league. He might, actually. He might.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of... Anyway.
There's a lot of players.
Yeah.
Mauro Itoje.
Yeah.
I'm naming a lot of English guys.
You're naming a lot of slow people as well.
Yeah.
Slow English players.
You would never see Furlong.
No.
Porter.
No.
DuPont?
Yeah, you see DuPont.
Yeah, DuPont.
You literally saw DuPont. He was literally in it. Yeah. Dan Sheehan would be a good rugby league player, I think.
You think so?
Yeah. Because he's fast and big. Is anyone who's slow is not going to fucking cut it, are they, basically? No. Anyone who's too small. Are we talking about league or sevens now? Forgot.
Both. Just
generally. Yeah.
Yeah, generally.
Yeah, because it's restrictive, isn't it? Yeah. And it's something like basketball, right? Like I could be the best 3-point shooter in the world, but I need to be over 6 foot or thereabouts.
There has been some short professional players, but they're far.
And they're not going to be able to do a lot of stuff on that court, are they?
Did I say basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some short guys.
Yeah.
There still might be. I'm not a basketball. I don't know.
No, I don't know a great deal.
But yes, it's generally
you need to be a big fucking guy.
A certain type.
Yeah.
Body type to play that game.
Yeah. No, that's why we love Union. It's for everyone. It's for the bullied kids, the fat kids, the tiny kids, the psycho kids who no one's friends with. It's the sport for the freaks of the world.
Yeah.
And that's why we love it.
You see this big guy just down in hot dogs and you just walk over to him. Hey, I got a future for you in a sport.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a place for you. You could play sports.
This happened to us last year. I'm not going to name any names, right? But we had a guy, and he was a big guy, come out to our club, didn't we? Like, he must have been, what do you think, 6'4", maybe bigger?
Yeah.
And he's just a huge human, right? Mm-hmm. And he's the nicest guy I've ever met, right? Softly spoken. We put him in one game. He's a bit like scared and everything. And I saw him I think it was the second game. He got the ball and he just went through about 4 or 5 guys like they were just ghosts made of dust.
And he didn't know he could do that.
He didn't know he could do that.
Yeah,
right. And to be fair, it wasn't for him. He didn't come back. But that one moment I was like, you could be a god at this level of sports, right? Just because of your size, which you're probably a bit self-conscious about, right? But that guy, I was so sad because what could have been, man? What could have been?
I was coaching high schools, just to keep going on that thing. I was coaching high schools last year.
Yeah.
And we have this big kid.
Yeah.
And he was kind of hesitant on the field.
Yeah.
Right? When he got the ball.
Yeah.
So I told him, I walked up to him like, hey, I need to tell you something. When you get the ball in your hands, that other team is going to be afraid of you. It doesn't matter how good you are at this game. No. When you have the ball in your hands, they're going to be afraid of you. You're a big guy. Their eyes are going to open up. They're going to be hesitant to get into contact with you. And he's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And then he started getting the ball and he just started creaming through guys.
Rugby first impressions are a big thing, right? You know as well as I do. You line up against your opposite number. You've already decided what he likes to do in his spare time, what he does at the gym, like because of his shape and size and demeanor. And if you're a big guy, all you've got to do is put on an angry face and look like you mean business.
Yeah.
That's half the battle sometimes, isn't it? It is, right?
Especially in the lower levels.
You've already scared the shit out of your opposite number if you're an inch taller than him, you know?
Yep.
Like, doesn't matter what position you're in, you know? So, like, yeah, like rugby is like a bit of a... People always say you've got to be big or crazy, right? And if you can lean into the crazy... You don't have to be crazy. You can pretend to be crazy. What they say in the cowboy world, fake it till you make it.
But sometimes you just get tricked. Like I know I've played games where there's been some big guys on the other team.
And they're soft.
And they're soft. You're just taking them down. You're tackling them all over the
game. And it feels amazing,
and then you play the next game and there's like a way smaller guy. And you're like, oh, this guy's going down.
And he's made a scaffolding.
And then, just like a fucking brick
tackling
houses coming.
lumps,
that happened yesterday in the game. This guy didn't look very much. I wasn't thinking much of him.
Yeah.
Went in to hit him, and he just trucked me. I was just not expecting him to be that strong.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
we've all been there.
Just to see it laying on the grass, like, oh, that hurts so bad.
When we played a game in Fort McMurray, which I think you also played in, there was this big English guy on their team, and he was their lock, and he was massive, and he comes down my channel. I put this tackle in him. I felt like an absolute legend, put him right in his ass, and I realized, oh, wait a minute, he's just soft. And everyone's coming up, oh, what a hit, well done, because I'm like half his size, and I'm thinking in my head, don't tell him he was soft. Don't tell anyone he was soft, right? And the guy just gets up, and he's like, oh, I've missed rugby, because it was like just after COVID, right?
Yeah.
And he got, poor guy, like just out of shape, and I've just put in this hit on him, and everyone's like patting me on the back, and I'm like, don't tell him the truth.
I love that when we play against those big physical like teams, like the big but they have to be like slow. If they're big, physical, and fast, then that fucking
there's
sucks.
Nothing scary than a guy sprinting direct. He's got no intention of sidestepping you, right? It's terrifying.
Yeah, I fucking hate that.
Yeah.
Yesterday in the game, before we just get into all this thing, there was that mall.
Oh yeah.
That the other team put on us.
Yeah.
Gareth and I are like going in there like side by side, and all of a sudden we're just pushing this whole thing far.
Yeah.
So him and I were just thinking this whole time, we're like, yeah, we're creeping these guys. We're like pushing them back like 10 feet.
Yeah.
We didn't know that the mall broke off, and then they already scored. They already scored a try, and then we just had the scraps left.
Yeah.
So when we got our heads up, we're looking. There's like 3 guys from the opposition, and then they're already in the try zone scoring. And we're like, fuck, we thought we were just killing this.
And that guy's just celebrating while you're pushing them.
Yeah, because me and Gareth thought we were just like the strongest guys ever. We're like, fuck these guys. Do you want to start off? Do you want to start off with the sevens, the Olympic sevens, the DuPont? Where do you want to start off?
I think I want to start off with the big news. I want to start with the Qatar thing.
Oh, let's end with that.
Okay. All right, let's go back to sevens then after everything I've said.
So DuPont, he won his gold medal.
Greatest player of all time.
Greatest player of all time.
So you know who Gareth Edwards is, right? Like in the kind of more traditional old boys rugby circles, he's widely considered the greatest rugby player of all time, right? He's like this old Welsh.
In Welsh rugby circles or world rugby circles?
World, but I would say that's probably not true if you compare it to the modern. I mean, in the context, he is probably the best ever rugby player.
Because I would say for the player to be the best rugby player in the world, it should be someone that I have heard about.
And that's why I'm saying
because I'm kind of outside the circle and I came in. So the biggest players' names I'm going to hear about because they're like the most.
And that depends.
So you hear about the Richie McCaws, the Dan Carters, the Antoine DuPont.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Every generation has the greatest rugby player. This guy, Gareth Edwards, I think was widely considered the greatest rugby player for a long fucking time. And then no doubt someone like Richie McCaw, Dan Carter especially. Mm-hmm. You might even say, if you were English in the early 2000s, everyone had heard of Johnny Wilkinson, right?
Yeah, Johnny Wilkinson's in there too.
Got to be up. Yeah. Point is like at the time, in context, he was considered the greatest rugby player of all time. What I want to say about DuPont is I think in 20 years' time, he's that guy. And he's not just that guy. He's that guy forever, including all these other guys we've mentioned, right? If you join rugby, who's the greatest player? He is. I think he's not even fucking done yet, is he?
No, I think he's like 27.
Yeah.
He's still got like 4 or 5. He's got 5 years. We got 5 or 6 years. We got definitely 5 or 6 years of top quality DuPont.
Because he came on and won that game. I know it's a sevens game and it's decided by the fucking bounce of a ball or the gust of wind, but he still fucking grabbed that gust of wind and took it into the try line and scored. Do you know what I mean?
So, Antoine DuPont is the talking point right now in the news.
Yeah.
He won the gold medal.
Yeah.
People are debating hardcore if he's the best player ever.
Yeah.
And I saw a point made that Antoine DuPont has never won a test match outside of Europe.
And that was the next thing I was going to ask you. Is someone judged on their greatness by the tournaments they've won or individual performances?
Well, you can't, when you're saying the best player in the world, you can't, because rugby is a team sport.
Right.
You could be the best player in the world,
yeah,
but if your team sucks,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're never going to, you can't just, one guy can't drag, a team to a championship.
Unless it's sevens.
So, yes, you can be, I guess unless it's sevens, but you can't be, especially because of the variety of roles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to have a team. You have to have a good team still. So I think you can have the best player in the world on your team, and that best player may not win championships.
Sergio Parise is always a guy I think about, right? If he was in the All Blacks, people wouldn't shut up about him. He was that fucking good, right? He would drag Italy off their asses, still lose.
Yeah.
But he would make them look competent, right? He would make them look like a good, just because he was that fucking good.
That's a perfect example that you just gave, right? Like he is changing the game, but he can't win the games.
No, so we're not going to talk about him in the same breath as these guys. Although if he was in those teams, we might,
because people would make arguments about like Dan Carter. It's like, well, was he that great because he had a really good team around him?
Yeah.
How good was he?
Yeah.
Put him in an average team. How good is he?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we don't argue about that, right? We know Dan Carter was one of the best players, objectively, in the world ever.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right? So I think DuPont, even he doesn't have a Rugby World Cup. It definitely helps.
I think he needs to win something that isn't a Six Nations for him to be talked about in 20 years, because he is that good. He's like kind of like the, sorry Finn Russell, he's the Messi of rugby, right?
He is the Messi of rugby.
He is the fucking Messi of rugby. Yeah. He's the real Messi of rugby.
Messi's won World Cup though.
That's what I'm saying though. Like in order to be that guy in 20 years, it doesn't even have to be a World Cup. Maybe maybe he breaks because no one's ever won back-to-back Six Nations Grand Slams, right? Maybe France do that. Maybe that's how we remember him. Maybe it's sad that France don't join us on the Lions tour, actually, because like having that Lions prestige for Northern Hemisphere players adds a little bit of caliber, doesn't it? And the French don't get that.
Because you have best, like when you bring in the best players, when you look at like the best players in the world, right? No one's as versatile as he is.
Yeah, and that's what was the next thing I was going to say. You judge a player by how would they play in another position. I always think Justin Tipperick is such a good example of this, because maybe except prop, you put him in any fucking position and he's amazing, right? Same with Dupont, almost exactly. Obviously, I think Dupont's a better player, but he can do everything, right? Maybe not prop because he's just not that size, but he would even be decent at second row as long as he's not line out jumping.
Yeah, the player that comes the closest to him, to Dupont, would be Artie Savea, in my eyes.
100%. Yeah.
Because no one like those two players, Artie Savea's toolbox.
Yeah.
Like the tools he just has, it's stocked.
Yeah.
And he could play. I bet you he could play any position.
Oh yeah.
And be good.
Oh, he could. And it's usually the guys we talk about in that situation. It's usually a back rower. They're literally right in the middle of that team sheet. They are literally the almost in the middle of the team between the scrum and the backs and the forwards, right? So for Dupont, who is a 9, not even a back rower, to be talked about in the same breath as someone like Savea is a compliment to Dupont more than it is about the versatility of a player, right?
Because let's take another top quality player, and you can instantly tell the difference. Another top quality player.
Etzebeth is a good example, right? I was
just going to name Etzebeth, right? He's a top quality player.
Yeah.
He's one of the best locks in the world.
Yeah.
Right? But he's not as versatile as Savea or
Be
Dupont.
a shit fullback, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Right?
But Artie Savea, I have no doubt he'd be able to play fullback and be good at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you could put him back. He could play 10.
Yeah.
And he'd be good at it.
Yeah. I think of someone like Tyg Byrne as well. I could even see him as
like
maybe a 12, but not a 10, not a winger, not a fullback, but he's still, for me, pound for pound, one of the best forwards in the game, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Forward, like a forward.
Yeah.
In the forward pack, he's like one of the best.
Yeah.
Top of the top. Another one is who's that like tall, Aryan looking motherfucker for South Africa?
Snyman.
No.
RG Snyman.
He won Rugby Player of the World.
Oh, Peter Steph Toy.
Yeah. Fuck, I can't believe I forgot his name. Yeah. Him and Tyg Byrne are like kind of like the same thing.
Yeah. They have to be forwards, don't they?
Yeah, they have to be forwards to really excel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I don't think like obviously like it's not like for sure what I'm saying about Savea, but I really honestly believe that you could put him on anywhere on the field and he would excel.
Yeah, he would. Yeah. There's something about his attitude, isn't there? There's something about just relentless about him, right? Doesn't matter what he's doing on the field, he's just fucking doing it.
He's like, what makes them apart, like DuPont and Artie Savea, is kind of like what I call about, like in MMA, I call it like the champion's killer instinct. So like you're watching a fight, and the fighter like hits his opponent really hard, and his opponent like kind of stumbles against the fence, and you see the fighter that just made that punch just kind of stand there.
Yeah.
And not really like go in for the kill.
Like
and
a bit of guilt gets them.
Yeah, and I'm like, a champion would finish that fight. They see the blood and they go in there and they finish it, right?
That's all they care about.
And that's the difference between a champion and a non-champion MMA fighter. They don't see that killer instinct. Like, there's the ending of the fight and they end it, right?
Yeah.
Like Artis Sevilla and DuPont, they take those chances. They see that weakness and they pounce on it. Yeah, they smell the blood and they like they go for it straight away. Like, that's what sets them apart.
It is. It's a killer. Do you see the remake of Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor?
I fucking saw that.
Okay, it's massive spoilers if you haven't seen this film coming up. So that's like, it's almost like the philosophical point of the film, right? Jake Gyllenhaal's character has that too much. You know what I mean?
That's what they feed on. Yeah.
That's like that's his character flaw. Like, he's this charming, attractive,
but
hard
he's too
bastard.
deadly.
But like, if you push him, he'll murder a town. He'll eat your baby to win. Do you know what I mean? Like, his killer instinct is his fatal flaw in that film, right? Like Adi Surveyor, he might just like out rugby someone to death one day, and they'd be like bleeding from his mouth, like, you know.
And then he's living in a small town, hiding from rugby. Yeah. It's like, hey, we need you, your country needs you to come back.
Yeah.
I don't live that life anymore.
And he's lining up against Conor McGregor, who's trying to tease him. I got you now, boy.
Fucking Scott Robertson comes in on a helicopter and lands in his front yard.
Aviators.
Yeah, and then Surveyor's like chopping wood, and he looks at him. He's like, "What do you want?
Yeah,
your country needs you, Surveyor. I don't live that life anymore.
That's the old me.
It's the old me.
That old me died.
I told you I'd never play again. I haven't played in 20 years.
You know what I did?" And then there's a flashback to him murdering a man on a rugby field. And eating him. Like,
it just haunts him.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that killer instinct, though.
Yeah, that killer instinct is what sets them apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting about DuPont, though, not winning a game outside of Europe.
Yeah, back to your point. He needs to be measured by other metrics to be that good, right?
To argue that, though, that's not really his fault.
If you look at the way
the French system,
it's a rugby calendar thing. It's fuck all to do with his rugby ability, right?
The French just don't bring their A squads overseas.
They don't. They send development squads, and people say that's a good thing. So I think we're going to talk about it. We're moving past the days of the old boys club making a deal. We're going to come and give you a nice tour, and we're going to have a laugh and some pints. Now it's going to be very structured and meritocratic coming up, which might be a good thing for things like this. There's downsides to it, but for this kind of thing where we've got all these statistics which seem crazy, but when you actually think about it, it's not crazy, right? France don't play outside of France as much as British and Irish teams, do they?
No.
They just don't.
They won't bring their A squads.
No.
Which kind of sucks, but they're like a league first nation. Like they're club first.
Right.
Then international only when it really counts.
And also, their tour of Argentina was kind of a fucking hot mess behind the scenes. So maybe
disaster.
They shouldn't fucking tour. Jesus Christ.
I know.
Racism, sexual assault.
Like holy
maybe
fuck.
You should stay in France, you lunatics.
Yeah. What else do you got going on here with
my little bit of paper?
In your little paper note thing.
I've got.
You're going raw. You don't have.
No, I've got
phone. Oh, you get notes there?
When I had my laptop, I'd fuck around with the tabs and I get lost in it. Paper is better for me.
It's just distracting.
For my tiny monkey brain, yeah. Anglo-Welsh League talks are resurfacing. I don't know if this has been done. We haven't done it to death, have we? We've talked about it a bit.
We mentioned it like a few months ago.
Yeah. And
so what's the story here? What's the new scoop?
For context, right? I used to be one of these people who was like, I'm a Celtic bro. I want to play in the league with the Irish and the Scots and fuck the English and all this. And I think in the last 2 or 3 years, I've really changed my mind about that. Like, I think
it's one of my favorite subjects because I like shitting on you about it.
Yeah, you do. And the biggest argument is, and I see this from a lot of particularly Irish commenters on like Reddit and things. It's like, you just get your ass kicked in England. It's like, getting our ass kicked now. It doesn't matter where we're getting our ass. It's where we're getting our ass kicked that we care about, not by who, right? Like, the distance is the key thing, I think. And we have these old rivalries with. You'd
rather lose to your supreme ruler.
Islander are supreme ruler right now.
You shouldn't have your you shouldn't have your Irish cellmates beating you up. You want to be only beaten up.
I think that's but like I get that a lot, and it's like people bring in like this old colonial argument. Oh, you're just England's oppressed little bitch. Like, fine, whatever. That's a laugh. But if I put that aside, like practically speaking, it just makes so much fucking sense to play against English teams, right? It's like we're not betraying our Celtic brothers by trying to make money. This game is about fucking money now, you know? It is.
So what's the developments? What's going on here?
Okay, so yeah, so why we're talking about this, I think the Welsh Rugby Union and the English Rugby Union actually had talks, and I believe the Welsh Rugby stake, the deal for the USC is not coming to an end as in Welsh teams will leave, but they need to renew their stake in the USC next year or the year after. So they're I think they're just putting some feelers out, basically. They're kind of going like, what's going on? Let's talk to England. Would they let us into the Gallagher Prem? And then I also see people go like, oh, all 4 Welsh regions would get relegated if they're reintroducing relegation promotion. And again, like, we got to play fine. We've got to play the standard we're capable of playing right now, which isn't fucking good, you know? We're not entitled to high-level rugby.
I just don't see how it's beneficial. What happens if you go into the Prem? All 4 of those teams are getting relegated. And now you're playing in fields, in fucking random fucking farm fields.
We do that now
because like the drop into the championship below the Prem is fucking like it's a drop.
Ospreys literally just moved their stadium to say that is a field. One of their stands is a side of a lorry. Right, we're there. That's where we are. You know, if we go to if we play teams in England, we will get better turnout. We will, because English people will come and watch the game because it's a 45-minute train ride. And I know you always laugh at that, but it's fucking true. We don't fly to South Africa every weekend to watch rugby, you know? We don't fly to Italy every weekend to watch rugby. Even going to Dublin and Edinburgh is a challenge compared to a little train ride to fucking England, you know? We would get the fan. If we get the fans, people engage and we get better over time. People keep saying, oh, you'd be shit. We're shit now.
I think the more beneficial thing to the whole thing would have the Prem join the URC.
And I think that's not off the table. I mean, I've not read anything about it. I think
that's the most beneficial, like, for all parties, because then everyone gets everything.
I agree with that.
You get your English rivalries.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a little bit of everything.
That's true.
Because, yes, those places get really amped up to play English teams.
They do.
The Scottish would be the same thing. The Irish would fucking love it too.
Edinburgh to Newcastle isn't an unrealistic distance.
Like the Harlequins coming into Dublin.
Yeah, it'd be a big game.
Yeah, it'd be a big game. Like, people would love to watch that.
100%. Saracens and Leinster every few weeks. Like, that'd be class. You know?
Because I think right now, the separating leagues is not a good look. It's just, it's messy.
Here's the thing though, this was never, you're coming from North America.
Yes.
Where everything has always been tidy.
Remember, where the sports are the best.
Sports number 1. I mean,
sports are the best.
People fucking love their sports.
They do the sports the best.
They do the good sports. Australia and the US, they do the good sports.
We're going to talk about one thing, like especially in North America, like, the sports is done really well. They know how to
they know how to market and sell domestic sports, don't they? Because to be honest, I watch the fucking NFL. Bores me to fucking tears. It's like a 4-minute game with 2 hours of commercials, right?
You're exactly right about that.
But they're doing something right, aren't they? People fucking
they
love
sell it.
People fucking love it, so they're doing something right. But here's the thing with rugby: we're not coming from the same spawning pool, right? This game has only been professional for 20 years, and even when it was, we didn't exactly plan it very well, and that's what we're dealing with now, is just this weird, we're still in the primordial soup of professionalism here, right?
You got to go with what works. That's what you got to do. You got to look at who's succeeding, what are they doing, and implement that. You know who's a good example? The Irish. They looked at the New Zealand system and they basically copied it.
Yeah, but that wouldn't work in England or Wales, though. It wouldn't work. We don't have Ireland are lucky because
I'm just saying. I know that's a different situation.
Yeah,
but they took a system that they saw what worked.
Yeah,
they implemented it.
Yeah,
and it's working for them.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's the way that Wales or England should go with their teams and stuff like that, because they're in a completely different situation.
You just think that we should copy something that is successful.
You need to copy something that's successful. And you know who does really good, like, privately owned club teams and then makes them into like $1 billion like products? Americans do it. Right?
Okay, so here's the deal with that though, right? I think what England are trying to do is keep up with France. France and England essentially have the same type of system. Private club, single country league. England can't compete financially though, and they're trying desperately to. So they're trying to copy a system, but I think there's a point of pride there where they're like, we invented this fucking game. How dare you be more financially successful at it? We've got to, and you seeing it in real time, Worcester, Wasps, London Irish folding because they just can't keep up financially, you know?
Yeah, and they can't copy, like you'd be like, well, why don't they just copy what the soccer's doing over there? But that's like a whole, it's not the same. They got a whole cultural, like that they would have to like build.
And it's hard to explain. I think you have some idea, but if I was to explain to your average Canadian, it's not even fucking close, right? Mm-hmm. People talk about like, imagine you put a list of popular sports in a country. I don't think this is the case, but imagine football was above rugby, which it is. Imagine rugby was just below, and you think, oh, it's close. No. Even if it's number 2 to football, the gap in attendance, finances, players who play,
massive.
It's vast, and you're not closing that gap anytime soon.
No,
do you know what I mean? And that's what we're struggling with in Wales.
And you're not even talking about like even like the culture part of like I'm talking about too. Like you're talking about like in soccer games,
just participation.
Like the fans have to fucking sit in different sides of the stadiums.
Yeah.
Like there is like a generational investment from these people and these fans.
Yeah.
You know, and it's more like what.
It's your town's identity.
What they see in soccer or whatever, football, whatever fuck. Yeah. Like it goes beyond the sport for them.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, it's personality,
it's lifestyle,
it's cultural
religion.
Identity.
Yeah, it's everything for them.
Yeah.
So they can't even go off of that. But they could build a product.
They could. I'm not saying it's impossible. So this Anglo-Welsh League thing, I think it's a good idea. I don't think it'll happen, but I do agree with the England joining the URC. And I think, to be honest, England would hate it, but it would be good for them. And what I would do is I would have what they do in the NHL, conferences.
Yeah.
Right? And I would try to make those conferences fair, because the Irish make a good point. You know, the Italians and the Welsh, particularly like team like the Ospreys, they'll say, well, because they play the Welsh teams more, they're more likely to win, because the other Welsh teams are shit. Whereas if you're a Connacht and you've got ambitions in your little conference, you've got to play Munster and Leinster to get to the same position as the Ospreys. That's difficult, right? So you need to make those conferences perhaps not based on geography, but based on last year's standings.
There has to be. Well, conferences are usually based off of like geography.
They are. So maybe conference is the wrong word.
To make the whole league like flow better.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have because just the travel, because they do that in American sports, because the distances are very vast between
basically every team.
So the teams in their conferences, they play each other more. Yeah. And they play outside their conference, like they play the teams outside the conference, but not as frequent as they do in
yeah.
And that just keeps the league flowing better. It keeps the travel down.
Yeah.
And also, it keeps those you can like from here in Edmonton, like traveling to Calgary to watch a Calgary game, but no one does that, right? Because this is not what we do.
No.
Right, but you could easily drive between the two cities.
Yeah, you could.
You could easily get between the two cities and watch the games. We're not really do that. We're also like more of a TV culture too.
Yeah.
But I think like I don't know how they would do the conferences in that if the Prem joined the league, like the URC, and then created another like a big super league. I like the idea. But you could have almost, because you'd almost have like mini leagues within the league.
You would.
You'd have the Welsh league. You'd have and you can have like
we do now. We've got the Welsh Shield. We've got that already exists. And then the problem is we're already now we're going to get into talking about devaluing the Championship Cup, the Champions Cup, right? So the overarching story for me here is we're at a crossroads in rugby in the club game. Either we stick to our traditions and we value our local derbies, right? We want to revive the derbies of old, like, you know, when Gloucester and Cardiff or Gloucester and fucking Dragons had a bit of a rivalry, which, to be fair, have existed for like 100 years. Like, these guys used to be big rivals, right? Or we have to be realistic and go, that's not meritocratic. A team like Leinster is going to be pissed because we've got to play more difficult teams in our little conference. That's not fair. So you've either got to stick to your traditions and be one of the old boys of rugby, or you've got to accept this game is about making money now. And if, like, I know that's a dirty word for some people, but like if it wants to survive, it has to fucking make money. So it's got to be meritocratic, right? Our little conferences and these leagues have to be based on who is capable of beating another team, like are they at the same level, which is why the Champions Cup is good. And to be honest, I was happy when they said in the URC, you have to be in this bracket in the top of the league. We're not just giving a Welsh team and an Italian team and a Scottish team a free fucking spot. You have to fucking earn it. I like that because all of a sudden it means the Welsh have to go, well, we got to fucking play better then, right? It has to be meritocratic. And that means there's stakes. That means more people come to the games, etc., 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 right? So we're at a crossroads here. Do you pick tradition or do you pick...
I feel like you can have... If the English join the URC, I think you kind of get the best of both worlds with that.
I think you do.
You don't get it perfect.
No.
It won't be perfect,
no.
But I think you get the best. I think that's the better outcome than leaving and having all these separate leagues.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's not going to be perfect. It won't be perfect, but I think that like having them all in one place, I think is more beneficial. And you'll because I agree with you. I think that those like those rivalries that the Welsh teams are missing. I think when you talk about them, like, oh, they should have those back. Like, that needs to be there.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get those through the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup.
It's not the same, though,
but it's not the same.
No.
Right, and it's not as frequent.
We're not. And the point of a rivalry is, you beat us last time. We want to beat you this time. We might not even play that team for 3 or 4 years now. So it's not a rivalry, is it?
No.
We're getting up. Playing regular fixtures that we look forward to. Anyway, so I think it's a good idea. I don't think I've got anything particular.
I think on a commercial sense, though, realistically, like all those clubs joining up into one Super League, I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think it just makes the most sense.
Eventually.
I think that's eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to be weird having like these different nations that are running their rugby programs in different ways in one league.
Well, that's what's already happening in the USC. It's why even if you introduced a salary cap, the South African currency, the British pound, the euro, even if you said this is what it means in terms of the exchange rate, it doesn't take into consideration the economics, the social situation. And
I know that's been talked about a lot.
It doesn't it's impossible, basically.
Because a lot of nations are running on pride.
Yeah.
Right? They're running their programs on pride.
Yeah.
Right? Like the South African teams too. Like they're not paying their guys as much as they are the guys are making in Europe.
Yeah.
But they're still going down there to play because of the pride.
They're happy to pull that jersey on, right?
And that pride is that only goes so far as the money goes up and up and up and up.
Yeah. Well, that's why half of them are in Japan now. And
1,000 of them are playing in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting there.
We are getting there. Random other news. Duhan van der Merwe became the most try-scoring Scotsman.
Why do you say Mer, do you?
How do you say it?
Merwe.
Mer?
Can you remember that guy who played for Canada, DTH van der Merwe? I always used to hear people...
Is it Merver?
I don't know.
I thought it was Mer.
It could be Mer. Mer sounds more mysterious and cool.
He brought Mer
He brought frankincense and myrrh.
Van der Merwe.
Yeah.
Merver. Like an extra syllable in there.
Yeah, I don't know. It sort of sounds more Dutch then, doesn't it? Van der Merwe.
I don't know. We need to have a specialist.
Yeah, we need many
a
specialists.
South African name specialist. How do you say these names?
Yeah. Actually, not Dutch.
Because there's probably some people that listen
sorry.
to this podcast and like really fucking butchering some names.
Yeah, the way you say Barrett as well kind of annoys me.
Barrett?
You say Barrett.
Barrett?
No, you say Barrett.
I say Barrett?
Yeah.
Scotty Barrett?
Yeah.
I am pretty sure I say Barrett.
We'll go back to listen to the recordings because I've been sat here every time going, ugh.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Barrett, you say.
I swear I say Barrett.
Which is weird to me because it's like I've only ever heard them called
Barrett.
Yeah.
That's how I say it.
Fuck, check the recordings.
Oh, no.
Check the recordings.
I sound like fucking Joe Biden in the debate when I listen. I don't like. I'm starting to not like listening to these podcasts over because when I start listening to myself, I'm just like, I'll miss words. I'll say the wrong thing.
I think that's normal.
Is it normal?
It sounds a bit arrogant. I'm very high energy.
Or are my early signs of dementia?
Maybe that as well. Maybe it's a bit of both. But I'm pretty good at sort of remembering names and being on the ball with words.
Because you have your book learning.
I've got my book learning.
You got your book learning. I came from I came from a bucket.
Yeah, from the mean streets.
Construction guy.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Scraped out of high school.
Pronouncing Barrett like Barrett.
Yeah.
Because you've never read a book.
Struggle with words that are over 2 syllables. Like, that's I'm the realness of the podcast.
You're the voice of the people.
The voice of the people.
I'm the bourgeoisie here.
Yeah, you are. Your ivory tower.
My ivory tower pronunciations.
Your ivory rugby tower. But Van der Merwe is now the highest try scoring Scotsman.
Yeah.
By going to North and South America.
Beating the mighty Uruguay, which was a close game. I've got the score as 31-19. Like, Scotland's ayahuasca trip's taken a turn.
It's too much ayahuasca.
Too much, yeah, lower the fucking dose, boys.
They've played a lot of games. I haven't looked at all the games they played, but I was surprised that they were still going.
It seems like it's been going on for ages. It's 4 games, which I know is slightly a game longer than the usual summer series is.
And we were talking about how last week, we were talking about how the tour was probably good for the morale of the team.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie of the team. And I was just listening to an interview with Craig Townsend, and that's exactly what he was talking about.
They know what they're doing. This isn't an accident. That was the plan the whole time. Boys on tour.
And they did it. They're like, this is a boys on tour,
it's
boys.
It's a fucking boys on tour.
Yeah, it's a boys trip, and they are enjoying the shit out of it.
Wasn't a single wife in sight this whole fucking time. No. This was a boys fuck.
And they're playing rugby. They're hanging out.
They're going to nightclubs,
drinking peyote.
Yeah,
and they're like just living life.
Yeah. Playing fucking mini golf on the Saturdays with each other, having the best time, like dressed up in bananas and things. Like
not getting arrested for like sexual assault and making racist videos. They're just like living up.
Yeah.
Living up the time. Like it is a great, like I'm
so jealous of Scotland right now.
They're gonna come back from this like a better team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And like Gregor Townsend, they brought a lot of like new guys, some upcoming guys.
Yeah,
he's learning a lot.
He's learning. Oh yeah, I think Scotland will not win the Six Nations. I don't think. I think for me they need to beat Ireland. They haven't beaten them in so long, and obviously that's a big ask. But it feels like the Ireland have become sort of like a bogey team for them, and Scotland have kind of done everything but. Well, they haven't done a lot of things, to be honest. But I think that's their next hurdle. You know, if you want to talk about Scotland winning a World Cup or winning a Six Nations, they've got to beat Ireland.
It's the thing about them is you almost think that they only care about one game in the Six Nations.
Yeah, they're like the Wales 10 years ago.
Like as long as they beat England, like they don't give a fuck.
They don't care, do they?
Because the quality drops off from one game to another.
When they lost to Italy, it was like they were still hungover. They were just like, "Fuck it, who cares?" Like we won, you know. But there is a thing there. It's like, you know, you put the emotion into certain games, and Wales definitely do that. We put our emotion into beating England, and we haven't done recently. And Scotland have like got their number now. It's like they fucking perfected the art of being mediocre in rugby, you know?
Yeah, they raise a level.
Yeah.
And then you make them they gaslight you into thinking that they're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they just get beat by fucking Italy afterwards.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Because when Scotland throw that ball around, fucking hell, it's sexy, isn't it? It reminds me of like Australia like 10 years ago. Like when they fling it around, like, whew, that's some cool, you know, just real swashbuckling. Like
the problem I think with Scottish rugby is I don't think they have like a style identity.
No.
Like they're trying to, like, I think for years now, Gregor Townsend has been trying to make Scotland play a certain style of rugby that I don't think is in the rugby
DNA.
In their DNA.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's like trying to push a system. He wants them to be this like super fast, like this super fast, flashy team.
Yeah.
That gets the ball out wide, play with pace.
Yeah.
And this attacking rugby style.
Yeah. Which they can do.
They can do now. They're starting to build into it.
Yeah.
So it's been taking years. I just feel like they lack identity. Like a rugby identity. Like English, they're bully cunts. Like they have that identity.
Yeah.
Like Irish are really attritional.
Yeah.
Really systematic.
Like all court game, very organized.
Very organized. They have that.
Yeah.
I think the Welsh, they have a heavy defensive system.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Yeah, like hard to beat, tough, historically anyway.
Yeah. Historically hard to beat, hard to get through.
Yeah.
And the French they have the flash.
Yeah.
Right? They play the fancy, the champagne rugby, they said.
Yeah.
Italy are there.
And also Italy.
Yeah. But yeah, Scotland's I feel like is one of the teams that just hasn't found
that's a good point.
Their style.
That's a good point.
That's a straight up personal opinion of mine.
No, I like that. I've not thought of that.
But when I think about Scotland, I'm like, yeah, what is their rugby identity? Like, who are they in the rugby world? Because you can tell, like, South Africa, physical, forward heavy team.
Yeah.
You got New Zealand, Harlem Globetrotters. Of rugby. Like everyone's got an identity.
Right.
and like Scotland is like trying to find that out, or they're just like copying someone else's identity.
Yeah, I think like, do you remember? So like before France decided that they were gonna start exclusively employing super mutants from Fallout in their forward pack. I think France changed their identity. Like everyone called them which French team are going to show up, and when they did, it was like, holy fuck, that's a good team. And when they didn't, it was like they would lost to Italy, and it was hysterical. Not that Scotland are that fluctuaty, but when France decided to really bulk up their forward pack and like emphasize their forwards, their backs looked after themselves, right?
Yeah,
because they've still got rock stars in the backs, and it's almost like Scotland are France like 5 or 6 years ago, where they fluctuate. They can play really well, but if you pin them physically, they really struggle.
I thought like what Galtier brought to France, because when I first started watching rugby, France were kind of like, you didn't know what they were doing.
You respected them,
but then they became this like very forward, big fucking heavy team that was just bashing forward, but that wasn't really giving them all the results.
No.
So like Galtier, I thought, brought France back to like their original style, that flashy champagne rugby, because their forwards are doing a lot of work, but their backs are just creating shit out of nowhere all the time.
Well, what happened in France was finally their potential from their academies, their under 20s, really stepped up. They have a golden generation right now.
They're going to be good for years.
They are. And their discipline got sorted, because they used to be horrific with their discipline, right? They didn't give a shit.
Just taking penalties, smoking and eat croissants.
And there'd always be some kind of drama. You know, someone had quit or someone was caught like fucking doing something fucked up. And
that's a good point. They have a lot of stability.
Stability
now.
and they
in the management.
That's
area.
right. They kind of did what Ireland did. They brought in real structure and organization, and it worked for them, right? But like Scotland, this tour is great and everything, but for me, they've got to beat Ireland. That's like a real yardstick of ability and progress. And they don't have an identity. And I think that's more down to depth than anything. But that's the whole point of this tour, isn't it?
Yep.
Expose some depth. I wish we'd gone on this fucking tour. This sounds lovely. Why couldn't Scotland invited us? When you see a friend and they go on holiday and you think like, why didn't I wanted to
They
go
do
on
it
holiday.
together.
I wanted to go on holiday with you.
Two teams.
Yeah, we could have gone together and we could have like had a Scottish Welsh Lions,
That would have been fucking, I would have watched it.
That would have been fun, and we're just like trashing Uruguay, like
fuck you guys.
With some players from Edinburgh and the Dragons. Fucking loved that. This would have been perfect for Wales. We need a morale boost more than they need it.
Yeah.
And they've gone and given themselves the ultimate morale boost.
I think Scotland should have went to Australia.
Yeah, and that would have been, honestly, a better yard. Because Australia, and I love that they're happy again. This is great for World Rugby, but it's like they've beaten the first boss and it was insignificant, and in a minute they've got to play the Rugby Championship and they're going to get fucking battered.
Yeah, it's really going to expose... This Rugby Championship is really going to expose who's who.
We know who's who. That's the thing.
Do we?
I don't think Australia are going to win a game.
I could see that. I could see, man, but yeah, you'll really see. You're going to see. I don't want to. I'm not going to write Australia off right away here, because I thought there was like a lot of promising things I saw in their games.
Yeah,
but it's really gonna, after this Rugby Championship, you're gonna know where all the teams stand.
Yeah.
In the world, I think you're gonna know who's who. Because like if New Zealand comes in and just trashes the box, you're gonna be safe to say that like they're probably the best team in the world.
I hate fucking talking about the best.
I love talking about the best team in the world.
It's such a.
I love talking about that.
Oh, it's almost like a paradox. This like.
Because no one's ever right.
No one's ever the best team in the world.
But there's some best. I would say they're best team. I love how they're like the argument of the best team in the world.
It's just yeah.
Speaking of the best team in the world, we're going to figure out who the best team in the world is, because we're going to talk about the Nations
Cup
Championship
of the world.
So Zanzibar and the Six Nations shut down Qatar.
Yes, they did.
They're like, we can't have this bad mojo, guys.
Fuck for that. I was genuinely happy about this.
I was genuinely happy about this news too.
So explain it in some detail for our listeners.
They said, hey, all this like...
No. Like, what is the Zanzibar Cup thing? Tell me.
Oh, you want me to go through it?
Yeah, tell me like I'm an idiot.
So they're going to play every 2 years?
Yeah.
they're gonna. You're correcting me because you know.
No, but we need context.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain because I'm not 100%, but I think I got the gist of it.
Yeah.
So during the autumn and July tours and the Six Nations and the Champions Cup, they're going to like combine all these games into like a league.
Yeah.
So every game counts towards this nation's championship, and I think they're gonna finish it off in November.
Yeah, sounded like it.
So it kind of ends off at the end of the year.
Yeah. Once every 2 years, it will culminate in a game between the two best or something.
So
right?
Qatar threw out a ton of money because they have infinite money.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we'll pay all this money if you host the finals.
Yeah.
So I think they would host maybe like the semifinals or some kind of knockout stage, like a mini knockout stage. I didn't know the full details.
Yeah.
And then the final.
Yeah.
And they put out a huge number.
Like 800 million or something like that.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone in rugby was like, holy shit.
We could buy a lot of jerseys with that.
Right? But Six Nations Sanzar came to their senses. Like, this doesn't really make sense for like a lot of reasons. Like, they said it didn't make sense for their fans.
Yeah. Travel-wise.
The negative, what's the word? Publicity from Qatar.
Yeah.
They didn't really want to get meshed into. Which I thought was pretty bold.
I'm just going to say that. I'm really glad they fucking said it. I'm really glad they had the balls to go, no, we're not doing that because you fucking human rights abusers, you know? Because the world, they made with football, like soccer, it's become a joke. All this corruption and, human rights abuses in Qatar as well. So I'm just glad that they had the balls to say that instead of going, oh yeah, we're not doing this for unspecified reasons, which I would have been happy with. But
they straight up said,
yeah, no, fuck that. That's
this stuff is kind of, we don't want to be associated with it.
Stop kidnapping people and stealing their passports, right?
So that's led other people to step up to the plate.
Other abusers of human rights.
Other abusers of human rights.
But with eagles.
More supporter of abusers of human rights.
Fucking hell. Okay, let's not.
Yeah, we're going to
get politically.
Anyways. I really like this idea too.
Yeah.
The United States has put up their hand in a bid to hey, you know what? We'll host some games here.
Uncle Sam has entered the chat.
Uncle Sam Uncle Sam wants you.
Yeah, he does.
And I think I like this idea.
I like this idea. It works out for us pretty nice because we could get a flight to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Fucking one weekend.
And since us North Americans, we're in the center of the world.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Hey, I've looked at a map. You're not wrong.
Everyone's coming, comes to.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
I do.
I think it's good for the sport in the United States, and I think it's good sports for just North America in general.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we're talking about this is much less political. We're talking about developing global rugby markets, right? Japan is doing Japan's developing nicely, but in a very Japanese way. They're doing their own thing, and it seems to be working for them, right? They've got these huge companies, and they've got all these people, but they're not kind of almost part of the global development of rugby, right? They're just doing their own thing, very Japanese. But we've been talking about North America, specifically the US, as the next rugby market for years, and the MLR's chugging away, and it's improving. This is the kind of thing that kickstarts it. This is
really
the kind
puts
of thing.
Eyes on the game.
And I think they even called it in that news article we read the Super Bowl of rugby.
Yeah.
Which, that sounds kind of fun.
Now, is the Nations Cup a good idea?
No.
Nah, it's awful.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible idea.
If we're doing
it. If we're doing it, let's do it
let's do it like this.
Let's do it like this.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea because lots of people like to go to the United States to travel.
Yeah.
It's a very accessible country for a lot of nations.
Specifically Canadians.
Specifically, us.
Yeah.
It's just and they have the stadiums, they have the infrastructure. Why not?
Yeah.
And if they're going to target a place to grow a sport, it doesn't make sense to go to Qatar.
No, exactly.
It doesn't make sense at all for the growth of the game.
Yeah.
Because for FIFA to go there, it doesn't matter.
No.
Right?
Every single country in the world likes football.
Yeah, and they're not worried about growing the game.
No.
Everyone's there watching already.
No.
Right? It's established. Rugby has to grow.
That's right.
It doesn't make sense to have these huge games in a country that's really not the future of rugby.
This is repotting your plant in a larger pot and putting it outside.
I think this is really smart. I think this is the rugby cabal of Six Nations
the rugby deep state.
Yeah, the rugby deep state actually did something
good,
smart.
Yeah.
You know, they were actually looking like, hey, you know, where are we really going to develop this game? We need to be looking at the future of this game because we got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
To develop this game, and I thought that was smart. And having the United States in this talk, I think is huge.
I think so too, and it's nice because I'm almost perpetually disappointed by big sports organizations recently. They just every single decision just seems ghastly money oriented, and obviously this is money oriented, but like I'm just glad that something has happened. They've made a decision which actually surprised me. I thought they fucking would go to Qatar.
Yeah,
because like who turns down 800 million?
Yeah, and this was smart because they went for not for the quick payday.
Yeah,
they went for the long-term investment on this.
Yes,
what's going to benefit our game more in the long run.
Yeah,
and man, I'm just kind of shocked that these guys like did this.
Me too. I'm surprised.
I'm actually kind of shocked that they actually made a good decision.
Exactly.
Like, hey, we need to think about the future of the game.
Yeah.
Where's it going to grow?
Yeah.
Where's it more beneficial? Like they made some actual good decisions.
They did. Yeah. It doesn't happen often, does it?
Right?
See, it feels like. Yeah.
Like, do we really want to be associated with this place that does these things to people?
Yeah.
You know, like regardless if like you believe in that stuff or not, like if you take that like the human rights shit out of the Qatar thing too, like it just makes more sense to have it somewhere else.
It does,
right? Like even like Qatar, like none of that other stuff exists.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense to have it somewhere else. It doesn't make sense to even have it in Qatar.
It was the same when we had this CMV. That there was some private equity firm that put a lot of money into the Six Nations, right? A lot of big rugby decisions recently have felt like having your dessert before your dinner. Just like, I want the sugary money right now. We'll worry about the consequences later. This is the first time in a while a major rugby decision has been made where I'm thinking, we're thinking long term, we're thinking sensibly. Like this is actually going to... We may not get a big fucking wad of cash right away, but long term, this is going to be actually good for the game. So regardless of how I feel about the Nations Cup, whatever the fuck it's called, this is a good idea.
And yeah, having an American city host some like mad ass, like crazy games, like high competition, like, if they do it in Vegas, that's huge.
Imagine like France, New Zealand, Ireland, All Blacks in Las Vegas. Me and you at the craps table Friday night. Then Saturday we're just all day rugby. That's what I want. That's why this is a good decision.
Yeah.
That's fucking...
it's more selfish reasons.
Yeah, actually, all that shit I said is irrelevant. I just want to go fucking have a party.
Take a couple hour plane ride to Las Vegas and just live it up.
We could do it in a weekend. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, you can go in and out in a couple of days or a day. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I like the idea. I like the idea a lot.
Me too.
And I'm not a big fan of the Nations Cups. I think it's just like kind of not needed.
The big thing for me is just the way it's excluding tier 2 nations.
Yes.
I still feel like we've got Georgia begging at our heels like a sad little dog, and we just keep kicking it away instead of going, you're ready. Now is the time.
Man, if Georgia, because Georgia's going to have those one-off games again.
Yeah.
If they keep like being super competitive or winning and start winning those games, like it's only a matter of time.
They need all these teams, all these countries need avenues to come in. It can't just be like once every 3 years, someone will call and be like, hey, do you fancy coming doing a tour here? Like Scotland did in South America. It needs to have a system for these countries to have a realistic way to grow. Otherwise, they're just waiting for table scraps.
And I think
randomly.
Nations Cup too really hypes up Test rugby.
Yeah.
Because now we're coming into the era where it's Test rugby versus club rugby.
Yeah,
because of the money.
Yeah. And club rugby will win that if we don't do something as national game fans, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is good for Test rugby in a financial economic sense.
Yeah.
To have this like championship every like couple years in between World Cups.
Yeah.
You know, some gloating rights and things like that. So yeah, I think it's needed kind of, even though I don't like it, but yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense financially and for the growth of the Test rugby.
We're agreeing on a lot of stuff today, eh?
We are.
Don't normally do that.
Well, no, we.
Well, you know, I'll say something. You'll give me a bit of a ribbon, but today we both got hard-ons for the same things. It's hard to like give you a hard time about it because I'm like, actually, that's true.
We needed some different topics.
We need to talk about probably the Irish versus Welsh setup because that'll get me fucking going. Can we just can we finish on a really bitter, petty argument for old time's sake?
Yeah, because we can't even talk if we've even talked about like Canadian rugby or we'll just be agreeing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, that's good. I want to finish on something.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Gatland having the full support of the WRU. What do you think as someone who has literally no stake in this?
I don't think Gatland's a bad coach. I've said that before.
That implies you don't think he's a good coach, though.
No, I don't think he's a bad coach. Is that still implying?
It just makes it sound like he hasn't won several Grand Slams.
No, he's a great coach.
Right.
He's a good coach. I just think this team needs to like a fresh new face, like a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah.
Like they just need a culture change.
Need a South American boys on tour, basically.
Yeah. And I just don't think Gatland's the guy. I think he's done enough.
Yeah.
Like like send the soldier home.
Do you think he's ruining his legacy?
No, I don't think so. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to take that back.
Because the way you said it,
I know the history. I know what he's done. Like I understand what's going on in Wales. I understand what he's going through right now. So I know it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a big
I know that,
point.
but the majority of people, I don't know if they know that.
The rugby layman doesn't know, do they?
Yeah, so they just see Gatland losing all the time. It's like, oh, Gatland's got to go.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think he should go because he's bad. I think he should go because they just need a big system shuffle. They just need to have like a fresh start.
He's not what they need. Not that he's a bad coach. Okay, that makes sense.
You know, when someone just moves to a new city to just have a fresh start in life.
Break up with an ex-girlfriend and new year, new me.
Yeah, new year, new me. They need a new year, new me.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. And I think Gatland's like he deserves like to take like he's done enough. He's taken Welsh rugby like to mass, like he's done massive things for them already.
Yeah, because
like to turn them around for that World Cup that they had in 2023. Like no one expected that.
No, we were fucking knocked on away from losing to Fiji. Anyway, yeah, I agree. We punched above our weight. We often talk about Argentina being the ultimate team punching above their weight, right? But Wales has a population of 3 million, and to even be in the fight is impressive for us. And now we're really not in the fight. It's almost like this is where we belong. And that sucks and that hurts. And he's the guy who dragged us out of that initially. And I don't think he's the guy who's put us back in this situation, you know? The Welsh Rugby Union has done that.
Because ideally, he's probably the best guy to keep working with this team.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good coaches in the world, and I think it is a fresh face.
Yeah.
Just he might not even have to leave the team. Like he could take another role.
Just be like the director of rugby.
Yeah, like take a step back from the team and work in the background more.
Almost like Razzie did for a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even a situation like that, like bring in someone like he can oversee someone, even though he's like the puppet master with strings.
We need a Jack Nina bar in Wales.
Yes.
We do. Ooh. I like that.
Who's Who's that?
Who's the Jack Nina?
Who's the betting guy that did all the betting?
Rob Halley. He's actually back. He's
already
Rob
back.
Halley. He's done his time. You leave him out of this. Got good odds on him staying.
Maybe Kingsley Jones. Can you guys take him back?
He won a game for Canada. Don't you slight Kingsley Jones. I hate to say this because it would be lovely to have an actual Welsh coach in charge of Wales. Hasn't fucking happened in fucking long time. But I still don't think it's a Welsh guy. Because Welsh people by nature we are grumpy, sour people, and we need some positivity. We need Jamie Joseph. I would take Dave Rennie.
Yeah, those guys. Even Michael Cheika.
Someone who's innovative.
Yes.
And kind of exciting, and they have the teams that play for those guys look like they're having a good time.
I think Michael Cheika is probably right now.
Yeah.
The best candidate.
I love Michael Cheika because
look what he did in Argentina.
I know. He's like, yeah.
He literally took that team and they beat everyone while he was there.
They did. He's like, he's the guy who's got your back as well, right? He takes bullets for you.
Yeah.
Because he will come out swinging over random bullshit that a referee has done just so the team doesn't have to take stick, right?
Yeah.
Take flack. Yeah. But it's almost like Gatland is good at that as well, though. Like Gatland and Cheika are in the same mold of like stubborn, hard-nosed bastards. It's almost like I want someone who's a bit more kind of airy-fairy, light on their feet. Let's just throw the ball around, have a good time. It's just
whatever Cheika did in Argentina worked.
Yeah.
And that was actually kind of a loss because you could see that there's a difference in like their quality dropped after he left.
Yeah.
So I would like to see someone like him.
Yeah.
I think he could do something. And
I could.
I don't even think he's a better coach than Gatland. I don't think he is.
No, I don't.
But it's just getting that new face. Like I don't know how to explain it anymore.
Oh no, it's like it's a thing in sports. You get a new coach and they freshen things up, don't they?
Yeah.
It's not just in rugby. And it was like, I'm saying now I wish we'd gone on that Scotland tour. Like, I was excited for this Australia tour. I thought, this is a perfect matchup. And hindsight is an easy thing, but now I don't think it was the best idea. I'm surprised Australia beat us twice a little bit. I thought they might win one game, but I didn't realize we were that bad.
Yeah, it really kind of showed, like, it did. It did show exposed.
Because, like, no disrespect to Australia, but I know they're having a great time right now, but they're still not. I still think they're going to get battered in the rugby championship. Yeah, they're kind of in a
honeymoon stage right now.
They are. And
they got a fresh new coat of paint, and they're just kind of like, oh, everything's great.
Yeah.
Right? So reality hasn't checked in for them yet.
Yeah, I don't think I realized how bad we were, because it's like, I was listening to this YouTube the other day, and it's like, I don't know who the Wales team are still. It's taken us 9 defeats, and we still haven't got a fucking identity, not even in terms of the way we play, but fucking who plays. Who the fuck are our players,
Yeah, you haven't found your, the Dan Biggers,
nope.
the half pennies.
There's 3 guys who are standout leaders. It's Dewi Lake, it's Jack Morgan, and it's Dav Jenkins.
Yeah, but Jack Morgan's always injured, isn't he? Like, you don't think he played in Australia?
No, he didn't play, and it's sad because he's one of those guys who he has that RD survey. He can do everything. That guy loves a crossfield.
And
kick.
He's a guy that shows up on people's team of the year sheets.
I know, and he's barely played.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. It says a lot about him, right? Because when he does play, you fucking know. Right? That guy can do everything. Anyway, fuck, we were talking about Gatland. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I like what you said about the director of rugby thing, though. I think that's what we need.
Yeah, do a Razzie type thing.
Yeah, Gatland retires to the
Gatland's in your head.
yeah. Imagine
Gatland's in your head.
Yeah. But Gatland had his moments like that. Remember the Lions tour where the New Zealand Herald put a picture of him with clown makeup, and then he beat New Zealand, and he came out in the clown nose. Like, he loves the fucking.
Oh yeah.
He's got the Razzie tricks, man. Like, he was doing this before Razzie was doing it. Oh yeah. So
yeah, he kind of created the game.
He did, but the thing is, time is over now.
And he's mind fucking with his players and shit, and to motivate them.
No, he's fucking. He knows what he's doing. But I think his time is over in that respect.
Yeah, he's done enough.
Yeah, he's done enough.
It's not like, hey, you have to go because you're failing. It's like, you've done enough here.
Yeah.
I would still like to have him like a Razzie situation, but it's time for someone just to get someone fresh in there.
Yeah.
Right, and if that doesn't work out, then they can bring him back
again.
They can undig him from his grave.
Oh, fucking hell!
And drag him out of his fucking coffin and throw him back on the field.
Like Terminator 3.
It's gonna be like fucking Weekend at Bernie's. You ever seen that movie?
No.
He's like where they have their boss dies and they have him they're carrying him around and pretending he's alive and they got him on strings and shit. Yeah, it's gonna be like that, but it's gonna be Gatland on the field.
In Futurama, where they've got the floating heads in the water tank. It's just Gatland doing the press conference, and he's just a head in some water.
Yeah, that's exactly what
in 2200 or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, because they just couldn't find anyone else.
No.
Like, fuck, we just can't get anyone else.
Yeah.
All right, I think we talked about everything we needed to talk about today.
Yeah, we really scraped the bottom of the barrel there, I think.
There's always rugby talk about.
There's always rugby.
Remember yesterday, you're like, what are we going to talk about?
What are we going to talk about, Steve? I'm so worried.
There's always rugby.
I knew that. I just didn't want to talk about sevens.
Yeah, we were going to talk about sevens. Good. We mentioned sevens and we fucking brushed off.
We fucking touched it and left.
We touched it and then we left.
Like a creepy uncle.
Well, friends, like and share and subscribe to the podcast.
Yes.
On anything you can find us on.
Do you want me to do anything in this bit?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Do you want to say a thing?
I don't know. What do you want to say? Why did you just cut me off at the ending? I'm trying to close the podcast.
It's Sunday, 28th of July.
Holy fuck. Thanks. Yeah, that's what we needed.
Check out our Substack.
You can email us at friendsofrugbypod@gmail.com. You can reach us at our Patreon. No, we don't have a Patreon. You're like, what? But yeah.
I don't even like the way I say goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye is dumb. How do I?
Goodbye.
How do you do
That's
it?
How you say it.
How do you do it?
I say have a good one, folks.
Oh, that's nice. What can I
Because
say?
I don't say good night or good morning.
Should I say it in Welsh or something?
Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be.
No one's gonna understand what you're saying.
But it's classy then, isn't it?
Glynflyn. How do you say it?
Glynflyn. That's a Welsh word.
Is it? What is it?
Well, Glyn is like a stream. Vryn is like a hill.
Oh, there you go.
Glyn is like a Anyway, that was you just made a Welsh noise and it turned into a kind of a word. Kind of.
Yeah. All right, friends. Have a good one.
Hwyl fawr.